Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's always very difficult to start after you've had such a wonderful lunch. I'd like to thank, once again, our Polish Safer Internet Centre and German Safer Internet Centre for having us here. I think that you'll all agree we've learnt a lot, so much so that I was going to talk about emerging risks, and I've heard about them, so I'm going to try and show you some solutions. So, what has been happening over the last years? InSafe, as you probably know, was created in 2004 in the aid of sharing experience, sharing resources across Europe, and above all, avoiding duplication, but building on that added value that we can have with so many different countries and so many different cultures. Today, the InSafe network comprises a centre in all of 30 countries across Europe, but even further in Iceland, in Norway, and also in Russia. And I think that there are two big evolutions that we can talk about here. We are now working very, very closely with InHope in the 4 strategic lines of the European Commission. Our job is awareness raising, really understanding the needs of young people, and InHope's job is to take reports on illegal content and make sure that we rid the net of such content. But another evolution is that we are getting better known across the world, and today there are 65 centres, which we call Safer Internet Day committees, working with us on all 6 out of the 7 continents across the world. For 2012, the InSafe network believes that there are 5 main drivers for what we're going to be doing in online safety. First of all, safety now is very much a multi-dimensional focus in life for young people. There are many, many different facets, and we can no longer talk about just keeping kids safe online. We also have to concern ourselves with location-based services, other uses of the mobile phone, but also advertising pressure, for example, as there's so much of it online. Secondly, we need to move away from those safety messages that we used to give out. We need to strive to integrate online safety in all its aspects into the curriculum so that we're talking much more about digital citizenship. In fact, I say just citizenship because we want our young citizens to be fully active in our information and knowledge society. So I think we can just drop the digital. It's just one aspect of life. Focus on the positive experience, positive content. And here you know that we, every second year, have a positive content competition where you're invited to create websites so that young people really have positive things that they can work with. And young people do have a positive focus on internet. EU Kids Online show us that more than 80% of young people's activities is either related to communicating with their school pals, and therefore they're often talking about homework and what they're learning at school, or they're looking up information, so it's an important learning tool. We need to move our youth panels into real youth spaces where we can participate with young people, but they can lead us and pinpoint the emerging problems, trends, issues that we should be focusing on. And lastly, and this hasn't changed, every year it's a key driver for us, share resources, share experience so that we can respond to the challenge. As you know, each InSafe Centre comprises an awareness centre that coordinates the national activities, implements campaigns, and assesses the impact. But we also, for the past 5 years, have had a helpline attached to our centre, where not only do we give advice and information to young people, their teachers, their parents, but also we gather information to understand what are the big issues young people are facing. And thirdly, our youth panel, which I hope is going to grow into youth spaces this year, where young people, between peers, can advocate what they should be doing online. For example, I was talking about sexting the other day, and I said, well, what can we do? What's the best solution? And someone from the UK said, aha, young people have worked out their own solution. When they see a girl or boy who has been sexting, then other girls or other boys say, I don't want to be in a relationship with that person. He's going to spread my information. Now, this is really useful for us, but how can we take that information and turn it into a way of working with young people so that they can become more responsible online? Let's just look at the multiple facets of online safety. There's contacts, of course, and here we talk about grooming. We talk about location-based services, any means in which young people can have undesired contacts online. Information content today is huge. This advertising pressure I was talking about, these websites, anorexia, bulimia, etc. How also can they be sure that the information that they find is true? How can they validate it? And here we have the need for critical thinking, critical evaluation skills, technical security. It is important because if a young person's computer is not technically secure, they can have unwanted content and worse, and contacts and worse. Peer interaction. Peers can have good interaction. They can also have quite negative interaction. This is a facet of safety, and we have to try and ensure that it remains positive. Excessive use. Is it a problem? What's happening? We are listening to programs across the European Union that can show us how we can best work in this area. And of course, certainly not last, online reputation, perhaps the most important thing for young people. What should we be doing there? What should we be talking about when we're trying to give them a better understanding of privacy? Because me at my age, perhaps you at your age, and then a young person at the age of 14 or 15 has a very different concept of privacy. We grew up in a different world, and we have to understand their point of view before trying to push ours across. 5 things we know about young people. Well, I'm sure you've already seen. 23% of 5 to 7-year-olds are already on Facebook, which is supposed to be reserved to 13 years and over. 43% of 8 to 11-year-olds are on Facebook. So let's imagine how many 12-year-olds are there. These are the figures from EU Kids Online. We know also that the under 12s and the over 18s are very concerned about privacy. But what happens is that from the age of 12 to 17, when they're young teens, privacy, it takes second place to fame, to being a supermodel online, to getting a lot of people to come and look at our profile. How can we deal with that? That's what we should be reflecting on here. And this one I discovered this week. 60% of teens in the United States, and I imagine it's the same here, say that adult intervention only aggravates the problem when once there's a problem. Now here they don't consider the helplines because it's neutral. They're talking about help from their parents when they're being cyberbullied, help from a teacher when they have problems with trolling, whatever. And what are we going to do about this if really only 40% think that we're being useful when we intervene? Lastly, communication tools shape learning modes. Who knew for example, that young people no longer read from left to right, right down the page. Young people nowadays, and this has been proven in several countries, read in the shape of an F. They read 3 or 4 lines and skim down the left-hand column, and a few more lines in the middle of the page and down to the bottom. And how many of us are taking this into account when we're setting up websites, when we're providing information? I didn't know it. I wasn't taking it into account, but I certainly shall now. There are 4 main spheres of influence on young people. Obviously, the families. So we need to be working with families, peers, teachers, and of course media, and certainly not in that area. I would say as they get older, the media has a much bigger effect. What sort of models are we putting over in the media? It's a big question, because although young people don't always listen to what people say, they take it from the models, they draw on the models that they see, and that's how they're going to act online. Solutions, seamless learning. Yesterday, I was in Poitiers and I gave a lecture to the university about why we should be using Facebook or another social networking platform in schools. Why? Because young people are already on these social networking platforms, we should be picking them up and doing something with them in schools, so that not only is it a new way of interacting, and even an easier way for teachers once they get used to it, but there's another big advantage. They're watching the model that we put out, and they're integrating the rules about online safety without even realizing it. Has anyone heard of Edmodo? It's a social networking platform used by many schools, absolutely and totally secure, and it gives a very good example of what we can be doing about this seamless learning, both at home, in youth clubs, or at school. Fostering peer learning. Upon analysis, I've realized that, in fact, there are formal learning situations and there are informal learning situations. And in these informal, we have our social media, we have competitions where young people create videos and posters. We have adult-directed, because competitions are usually adult-directed, and youth panels, which are usually adult-directed. How do we blend these forms of learning? I think this is the problematic that we have in front of us. If we really want young people to develop safe and responsible strategies through interaction, then we have to examine this model and see how do we bring it all in together. We are trying to do this. I don't know what's happening to my PowerPoint. We're trying to do this through a website that we've created called Pan-EU Youth. You may know that every year we bring 30 young people to the European Commission in the month of October, and we work with them for a week to try and understand what they're doing, where they're going, their ideas. This year we've set up a competition focusing on the positive youth achievement. And we have found the most remarkable examples of what youth are doing for other youth and just need encouragement. For example, there is a young 13-year-old in Slovakia who has created a blog and now has thousands of young followers. There is a young girl in the Czech Republic, 18 years old now, and for 2 years she's been running an association against human trafficking. Young people are doing remarkable things, and perhaps if we can give them a showcase to show what they're doing, we can get much more positive interaction with them. This, for example, is our youth website, but if you want further information, go to it and have a look. at paneuyouth.eu. Reaching family, because family is definitely one of the 4 sources of influence. And here, I think that we have to work much more closely with parents, and I've seen some good initiatives. We have our own initiative, the eSafety Kit, where there is a 30-page booklet for parents to give them a lot of information about what they should know about being online. But they need something more, and Vodafone has just developed a magazine, this is the 2nd issue, called Digital Parenting, when they show parents how they can negotiate with their children about time spent online, programs watched, etc. Everyone can have a copy of this, but it's in English for the moment. We're going to try and get some of the articles translated into Polish for you. We, this month, will be also launching a very short video film, The Digital Universe of Your Children, online tips for parents. Parents want information, but they do feel like there is just so much out there, they're lost. We have to revalue parents, give them confidence that what the kids really need, values, knowing how to act, knowing what the risks are, and these are the sort of things that you'll find in digital parenting, but other things that the InSafe network has put out. Media is a powerful player, and what we're trying to do in the InSafe network is really to create different forms of media, online, offline, digipacks, for the very young, for the older kids, a game on the eSafety Kit website. We need to be putting out positive content, and if young people have this positive content, then they're not going to look elsewhere for what's maybe less attractive, less positive. We're right now creating, with a number of awareness centers and also with young people, My Life Online, which is a book of 30 pages with all sorts of activities where young people can actually test what they know about their online reputation, about the right to be forgotten, about privacy. I think last but certainly not least, I'd like to mention Safer Internet Day. Who's heard of Safer Internet Day? You're in Poland. I hope everyone has. The importance of Safer Internet Day is, in fact, online safety is also something we should celebrate. We should show that we're happy to be there and encourage other people to come along with us. This year's a big celebration. It's the 10th anniversary of Safer Internet Day. Already last year, 100+ countries celebrated Safer Internet Day. In 2013, it will be on the 5th of February. The slogan will be Connect with Respect, and it's all about online rights and responsibilities. Let me finish, if I can, with a film. I'm not sure if it's going to... I can't see the image.
The online world is an integral part of children's reality today. We are growing up digitally, with technology embedded in every aspect of our lives. Now the internet is such an important part of life, adults want to keep children safe and provide guidance in the virtual world as well as the real one. Since year 2004, Safer Internet Day, or SID, has been celebrated on the 2nd day of the 2nd week of the 2nd month of the year. SID promotes safer and more responsible use of online technology, now including mobile internet. Safer Internet Day was born in Europe and has grown rapidly, now spreading to 74 countries worldwide, with thousands of people involved in events. Each year, the InSafe network chooses a different theme. Previous years have focused on a variety of topics, including cyberbullying and social networking. Safer Internet Day activities are often organized around one major central event in each country, accompanied by a press conference. After that, there are loads of smaller initiatives held in each country. We'd like to encourage schools, institutions, companies, and partners to celebrate SID and organize their own events and activities. The online world is a unique arena where people of all ages can learn together and from each other, especially regarding online safety. Whether you are 5, 40, or 75 years old, whether you use the internet once a month or several times a day, each person can add something different that can help shape our online experiences and our safety. This year's theme is Connecting Generations, and we invite you to help raise global awareness of online safety issues by organizing or attending an event on Safer Internet Day. Go to our website for links and resources on how to get involved. Join us on 7 February 2012, when the world celebrates Safer Internet Day. Let's discover the digital world together, safely.
And in case you're wondering who the young man is, this is precisely the sort of young people that we're working with, who want to do things, who want to share their ideas. His name's Ostras. I think he's 18 years old now, but he was 17 when he did that, and he comes from Latvia. So that's all that I have to tell you, but I would love to answer any questions that you may have, and I do look forward to working with you. And I hope that it's been useful looking at the drivers that InSafe is going to be using this year in its activities across 2012, which is also almost finished, but also in the beginning of 2013. Thank you.
So, do we not have any questions? No, I say we do have a question. Do you see the point of setting up e-learning courses, because the internet and the media are addressed or targeted to groups or networks, but e-learning is something that's definitely getting off the ground here. So are you aware of any projects, of any e-learning projects dedicated to this subject, to have a more individual tailored approach? So are there people you work with maybe who write e-learning courses? And the reason I'm asking is I work at a special needs school, and my job is to provide or to help students use this technology, and since these are special needs, special education children, I'm thinking of e-learning just to tailor the work to the needs of the student.
Thank you. Thank you for this very interesting question. First of all, we do frequently use e-learning techniques because European Schoolnet, who is the coordinator of the InSafe network and for who I work, is a consortium of 30 ministers of education, of which the Polish Minister of Education. So our major job is to train teachers, and we do use e-learning, for example, for teaching teachers how they can use social networking and social media in the classroom. We have a 6-week course that teachers can do online. We accept 100 teachers at a time, and then we encourage the teachers to work in communities of practice for 3 months under the supervision, the guidance, and in collaboration with our team. We run something very similar, which is going to start. Carl Hopwood's in the public. I don't know when it's going to start. The Games in School. 1st of October, we have an e-learning course for teachers who would like to experiment with using games in school. And we do this always with an eye to safety, but also the positive use of these tools, in collaboration with the Interactive Federation of Software across Europe. So we also propose games to the teachers that they can actually test out in their class. We don't do e-learning courses for young people because we've learned that although they want a real seamless form of learning, they like to go and get their learning online, offline, audio, video, and so we think that by guiding the teachers, we're giving them the tools to give their pupils, to cascade on to their pupils all the very best ways that they can control their own learning. Because our real objective, of course, is that every young person can learn at his own rhythm, safely, responsibly, and realize his full learning potential.
Jeszcze mamy czas na jedno pytanie. Tutaj pani się zgłasza.
I'm from Bydgoszcz. I'm an elementary school teacher, and my question, since I often get students, I teach computer skills between ages from 1st to 6th grade, and after the panels we've had here today, I see that at least in my country, in Poland, we do not have the solutions for future for students of teacher colleges to teach them about safe internet. I spoke to the ladies here, and they said that the students are being trained. So, but it's only the willing ones, the ones who. And there's no actual system being produced. So, do representatives of organizations that work at an EU level, are you thinking of any systemic solutions? Any future teachers or students of teacher training colleges? And I thought, and somebody said today that a child needed to get psychological help, and maybe psychologists here in Warsaw who work with NGOs can cope with this, but looking at the problems in my city, which is a smaller city, where a young student father bit his baby, savaged his baby because it was stopping him from playing a role-playing game or a game online. Nobody told that person that the internet could be dangerous, so the student looked for therapy, but he didn't find it. So ways of reaching out.
It's a very interesting question, and I have been fighting for this for the last 12, 15 years, and I will keep fighting for it. As you know, education is a question of subsidiarity with the European Commission. It cannot tell countries how to train their teachers or what to do. All that we can do is to give them some very good practice and say, hey, look at this, help us showcase it so that other countries will do it. We have a lot of young trainee teachers who actually take part in the e-learning courses that I was talking about earlier. It's very popular, and the only problem we have with these e-learning courses is that it's quite intensive because we need 1 or 2 teachers from our staff to follow up and interact. And so we can't keep them running all year long, otherwise we could train a lot more trainee teachers. But let me talk about an example in Latvia, where trainee teachers have options, and one of the options that they can choose is online safety. And there they work with the Safer Internet Center, and they set up a project, and they run that project out in the school, and it's in schools, and it really counts for their qualification. And if they chose that as an option and they didn't pass, well then they don't get their teaching certificate. It's a good example. We are trying to encourage other countries to do this, because you are so right. If you don't train the young teachers, the ones who are really adept at using these online technologies, then we are never going to give these role models, and we are never going to get young people to inculcate the things that they should be learning. Because if you tell a young person, do this, don't do this, don't do this, they're not going to listen. But if there is a young teacher who comes into the class and they really admire that young teacher, they're going to follow what the teacher does and not what the teacher says. The third problem you mentioned is a totally different area. First of all, a man who beats a child, it's nothing to do with the games. The man's got a problem, and maybe the game is a way that, yeah. But secondly, we do have psychologists working in our helpline. This is why we have a helpline, because we realize that we really need these experts to help us understand and help us move ahead. So we provide a blended service, but the psychologists are very much part of it. And if you can do something about getting this model of teacher training as an option for online safety adopted in your country, then come to us and we'll work with your Ministry of Education and we'll try to succeed to implement it. Thank you very much for your question.
Bardzo Państwu dziękuję za pytanie.
Thank you very much for the questions, and thank you, Janice, for your questions. Yes, a round of applause for Janice again.